street gang on. We started a street gang on this block here, a street organization. I was like 9 years old. 9 years old when I first got involved with it. Where they coming from? Behind us.
This is Chicago, known for its museums, food scene, and right now,
Chicago police warning the public about a burglary spree.
2 victims shot and killed in this armed robbery.
4 stabbed in 5 days.
Gunmen opened fire on a crowd gathered for a funeral.
ICE agents are on the ground in the Chicago area.
More protests and arrests this weekend.
in October, President Trump deployed the National Guard to Chicago in a supposed crackdown on crime.
Chicago's a killing field right now.
If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
But at the same time, others insist Chicago is as safe as it's ever been.
The President of the United States has absolutely no idea what's going on the ground. He has no idea that crime has gone way down in the city of Chicago.
So what's the truth? How bad is crime in the city? And would sending the military in really do anything to fix it? I was born and raised in the city. People love talking about us, but never to us.
Would you guys like to do an interview for a documentary?
So I asked the people who actually live here, and what I found was far more complicated than anything you'll ever see on the news.
Do you feel like Chicago's a dangerous city?
No, I do not.
I've always felt relatively safe here, and I think there's crime in all cities, and I think Chicago does just have a bad rap for it.
I don't feel safe. This is why I moved to the suburb.
Oh, okay. Can you tell me?
The crime rate, it's so high, and even walking, at that point when we moved, I didn't feel safe even to put gas.
You got to have your head on a swivel. Even walking down Michigan Avenue, it's like, keep track of who's around you.
I think the stigma is the South Side. There's a bit more crime there, but
I think the news exaggerates.
At night, I don't ever walk alone home late at night. But
you say you don't walk alone?
No, I don't.
Have you heard about the puncher on the train?
Yes.
Yeah, so I've seen that a lot.
Did you see the puncher?
I saw it firsthand, yeah. I mean, I was very far away. It was like the other side of the street.
It's hard to categorize Chicago as safe or dangerous, partially because crime rates vary widely between neighborhoods. In 2025, most of the city's violent crime occurred on the south and west sides, in neighborhoods like Inglewood, West Garfield Park, and Austin, where I'm from.
I was in Stateville Prison, maximum security prison.
How long were you in there?
That was the first time I went.
Booney is a former member of the Vice Lords, one of Chicago's most notorious gangs. He was there when it all started.
I got locked up for armed robbery in 1976.
Was this all in Austin?
All this right, where we at now, this is where all this happened at.
The Austin neighborhood in Chicago's west side had the highest murder rate any neighborhood in Chicago in 2025, with 45 homicides.
This is an active block. By that I mean they're actively selling drugs on each corner.
Okay.
But I talked to the guys that's selling the drugs and asked them not to do it on the block, not to mess with the people's houses, run through their gangways and all of that, and they respected that enough not to do it. So, because ideally, I would prefer them not to do it, period, but I know I can't supplement their income.
Yeah.
So I can't tell them, don't do this here.
Have there always been people selling drugs on the block?
No, this is new. All of this is new behavior that due to the economics and the lack of opportunities for us jobs. We used to have all kind of industries and companies in this community. To find a job was just as easy as going to get a cup of water.
He's not lying. In the 50s and the 60s, Chicago's west side was a major manufacturing hub, and that meant an abundance of good-paying jobs for everyone who lived there.
I want to get you to Brock's, where Brock's Candy used to be at.
Brock's Candy was at one time the largest candy factory in the country, employing over 3,500 people right here in Austin. But factories started closing their doors in the 80s, sending production to other states or out of the country.
Now all of these here is abandoned factories. There used to be factories.
So these were all employing the people
all employing the community. All these was employment opportunity for the community. Wow. All of this here. Wow. Now it's just there.
What is it now? It's just empty?
Just there, empty. They're not utilizing it at all.
Is the city trying to do anything with it?
Not to my knowledge. Nobody is doing anything with it. All these was jobs, generational jobs.
In the absence of jobs, illegal economies began to flourish.
Families that used to work at blocks, now their kids and grandkids is on the corner selling drugs.
During the drug epidemic of the 90s, gangs became more profitable and more powerful. And as more people got pulled into gangs, violence in the city began to rise.
If you're in the streets, being in the streets brings violence because just like anything else, in the industry, you gotta protect your product and your people that's selling your product.
In 1992, there were 948 homicides, the highest homicide rate the city had ever seen. Since then, the homicide rate has declined significantly, but Chicago still has a murder rate that's 4 times higher than that of New York. And for many people in the city, that's still a crisis.
This year, we had a lot of violence. A lot of violence has happened. Sometimes I get scared.
Elizabeth Ramirez started a group for mothers who have lost their kids to gun violence after her son was killed in 2011.
We're losing babies. We've lost baby 3 years old, 6 months old, 7. It's different ages, and a bullet doesn't have an age.
Right now, you hear a lot of politicians talking about how the numbers of deaths are down in the city, the numbers of homicide. As a mother of someone who has lost their life to the violence in the city, how does that make you feel?
Angry. Our kids are not numbers. And they have to watch the way they speak because that hurts us. You understand what I'm saying?
My best friend, my best childhood friend got murdered outside of our neighborhood high school. And the thing that really hurt me was turning on the news and them saying, a man was killed today. An 18-year-old man was killed today. And I was like, this whole person, my best friend with all of his dreams and aspirations today on television was a man. Just an 18-year-old man was killed today.
For locals, detached stories of violence have become the norm. But in September of 2025, President Trump put a national spotlight on the city, injecting unconventional intensity into the crime narrative.
Chicago is a hellhole right now.
And calling on federal agents in an effort he called
Operation Midway Blitz.
And National Guards, I did say, yes, why not them? They could help.
Immigration action throughout Chicago has taken a violent turn in recent days.
Federal agents made over 800 arrests as a part of Trump's Operation Midway Blitz. But the operation was largely absent from the neighborhoods with the highest crime rates.
He wasn't going after the criminals. He was not going after criminals. He's going after innocent people that just want to work to maintain, support their family.
Despite this reality, some people saw Trump's actions as a sign that the federal government was finally doing something to address the violence in the city.
Just keep us safe, man. Whatever you need to do to keep the kids safe and the women.
So you give it a thumbs up. There's a lot of
people.
Never
gonna keep us safe and clean the streets, man. I'm all for it.
President Trump wants to add more police and put more military on the ground here. Do you think that would be something that would make the city a little bit safer?
Yes, I do.
Yeah?
It's obviously worked in Washington, D.C., and the more police, the better.
President Trump wants to put more cops on the ground.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's a very good idea to be safe.
And Chicago doesn't feel safe?
No, not everywhere.
It wasn't hard to find people who welcomed the attention Trump was delivering. But I wanted to find out how people on the ground working to stop Chicago's crime felt. And to my surprise, it wasn't the police I was pointed to.
When Trump was first talking about bringing a National Guard, just in general, to Chicago to stop the violence, right? I was talking to my granny, and she grew up in West Inglewood, still live there. The only time she is feeling unsafe is when these little dudes is on the side of the street. That's what makes her feel unsafe. How do you all navigate the fact that some some people do feel like, yeah, bring the cops so they can stop shooting, you know?
The fact that she feels like that has to happen is because it speaks to her helplessness as a community member to stop the violence, that we need some outside source to help us with it, right? But like, we all are here because we know that like, it starts with us. You know what I mean? It starts with us, it comes from us.
This is the Firehouse Community Arts Center. The people here, many of whom have been incarcerated themselves, have developed a disciplined, predictive system for stopping violence. They created a model that helps them de-escalate in real time and prevent harm before it ever spreads. What you're about to hear is a level of sophistication most institutions never reach.
You know parents, you know uncles. At some point, we used to be in the streets. So everything based off relationships. Everybody got a different role. What he good at, I'm not good at. What he good, so we have to focus on each other's strengths. Like he's good at going to any room and stopping anything. I don't care how many guns on the table.
When they do their jobs right, they're almost invisible. They move like ghosts, intervening before harm ever even materializes.
So we have to police our neighborhood, but we do have to work with the police because I'm not finna do their job. My job is not to give you no information on who did what. Right. That's your job. That's just like your job is not to prevent violence. You're gonna get called, grandma gonna call you after little John got shot. Some are already happening while we sitting here. So that next morning, we waking up knowing all that night, Tim, man, you call such and such, call such and such. We prevent it from going into that next day.
Firehouse makes this all possible by harvesting a resource you can't purchase or manufacture, but sits at the core of the entire operation: street credibility. In their hands, it's treated like a scarce material, valuable, intensely fragile, and capable of changing everything when used precisely.
Like some of the guys that I work with, like we grew up together. So, and the way they see me, the way I changed and gave up a lot of stuff in the streets, like they respect me even more for that, because they know the way I used to be.
Like a pyramid scheme, Firehouse workers make one member recruit another, and then another, and then another, until they create a living system of connected nodes, not unlike neural pathways, where influence is transferred before it fades.
We try to represent what Gandhi says, be the change you want to be, whatever, right? We try to represent that change by the way we live our lives. You know what I mean? It's not ignoring the realities of violence. It's saying that we know the reality of violence exists. We come from that reality. We know that reality, but we know that peace can exist too, right? And that we can all prosper and flourish.
This work is so specialized that fewer than 1% of people on the planet can do it. The corporate equivalent of this job would require a PhD.
Is it to the point now where, like, when y'all are in the community, like, you have built up so much trust that sometimes if they feel like something about to pop off, they call y'all before they're calling the police, or not even calling the police?
Okay, be honest. They gonna get over Phil to get in touch with us. If they know Phil got certain guys working in a certain neighborhood. Soon something happen, they call him first.
That's the first call.
Yeah, they gonna call Pastor Phil because they trust our work.
We have a focus. We don't have to arrest people because they got seatbelts on. We don't got to worry about people whose license is expired. We don't got to worry about. We focus on John on this block, and we do that 24 hours a day.
Community violence intervention started to get some federal funding in 2022. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson spent $100 million last year to expand these programs in Chicago. Since then, homicides fell by 30% in the city as a whole.
In the 4 areas we serve in North London, because we hyper-local in 4 areas, that's what we want to be, it's a 73% decrease in murders over the last 4 years, from 12 murders to 2 to 1.
What we have seen, the response from the Chicago Police Department is that they're leaning on and calling for partnership with these community violence intervention workers to be on the streets downtown to help quell the violence. That should tell you all you need to know about how effective these programs actually are if you've got law enforcement calling them in for assistance.
Risa Lanier is a former top prosecutor at the state's attorney's office. She has seen firsthand how community violence intervention programs are filling gaps left by the criminal justice system.
So they have that credibility. They're able to get into spaces that law enforcement and professionals aren't able to get into and navigate and manage those conflicts in a way that the law enforcement system is just not set up to do. That's community safety.
Leveraging relationships to mediate conflict is an extremely precise approach to stopping violent crime. And by hiring former offenders, these intervention programs offer the economic stability people need to leave crime in the first place. But not everybody is on board.
Because when you're looking at the media every day and they spotlighting that is so much violence, Trump looking at that, right? We know that how to really stop violence. We know that there's a decrease in the areas that we're working in, but President Trump don't know that.
Some of the conservatives from other states, they say, oh, why don't you just get more cops and arrest the drug dealers?
Lock them up and then what?
Right.
What you do when they locked up, because they coming back out.
And it's not free to lock them up. We paying to keep them there, not rehab them.
No rehabilitation at all.
Not rehabilitation in any way.
We paying for punishment.
Yeah.
Chicago has consistently ranked high in police per capita. It's also home to one of the largest jails in the United States, spanning more than 8 city blocks and admitting about 100,000 detainees a year.
I would say that if the solution to safety and public safety was adding more police, then we would be the safest city in the country.
While the Trump administration has remained loud on the issue of crime,
We'll have very little crime in Chicago, almost none. We'll stop it everywhere. We do stop it everywhere.
they have simultaneously undermined the efforts of community violence intervention programs like Firehouse.
How did you react to that? What were the thoughts that were going through your
I felt
head?
like somebody shot a kid on the block that we've been loving on and serving. It felt like this kid just got shot. He's about to change his life. And this car rolled up on him and killed him. Like, why would you do that?
In early 2025, the Trump administration stated that grants towards crime and violence prevention programs were not aligned with their priorities, and as a result, canceled at least 365 of them. The result is over $800 million rescinded from groups nationwide.
And then it made me mad, like, why should we even apply and pursue anything from the government? And then, if other people who are donors and they're believing the hype of it all, then, maybe they'll pull their money back too because it's, it's all kind of things.
So there's a compounding effect.
Yeah, ripples.
Donald Trump spent $20 million sending the National Guard and ICE into communities under the mindset of it'll make it safer. I want to know what groups like this would have done with $20 million as opposed to what Donald Trump did with it.
Grocery stores, life skill training.
So come on, brother, talk about it.
Mental health. When I started here and they said we could talk to a therapist, I jumped on. I ain't care who. You know what I'm saying? I got trauma. You know what I'm saying? That I done grew up in. So it's like.
So you're saying these are the things you would spend the $20 million on?
Yes, sir.
Grocery stores, mental health services,
training, life skill training or a trade, even if it's somebody that's coming home from prison.
The investment needs to go into making things better. We need to really dig deep into what really even causes this, like the poverty. Like our communities need to be invested in. I feel if we lived better, we would do better. When we see better things, we do better things. When we have better schools, we have better children. We have better leaders.
Although the workers at Firehouse are seeing results, even they acknowledge that their impact can be limited.
If you were to lay a heat map over the city of Chicago as to where the high crime pockets are. Now lay a map about resources in Chicago, lay a map about job opportunities in Chicago, and you will see that those neighborhoods that the highest incidents of crime occur are those that are underfunded, that are under-resourced, that have high poverty levels, that have low lifespan levels. Unless you start to resource that neighborhood, you're still gonna have the same type of conflicts within that neighborhood. You're still gonna have people who are just trying to survive.
This was a grocery store right here, Mr. C's. There used to be a grocery store and a furniture store was right there. And all this lot here, that was businesses. All of them was businesses.
What was this?
And that was another grocery store. Used to be there. All that used to be grocery store. And then this lot here used to be a grocery store.
Since he got out of prison, Booney has been doing his best to provide the types of resources community members themselves are calling for. He works with an organization called Build to provide job training for youth and fresh food for the community.
The chickens.
Yeah.
You weren't lying.
We live in a food desert. And I wanted to be able to provide some natural, fresh, organic food for my community and show them of how they can utilize this kind of space and what we can do with it to help us. I got the bill, with the help of Bill, we turned this lot into a farm. And now my community every year could get fresh vegetables for free.
Can you talk a little bit about the correlation between access to fresh food and crime and violence reduction in neighborhoods?
Yeah, I mean, and it's not just access to fresh food, it's access to a whole lot of other resources, right? I mean, again, I will say, grew up in Roseland, now live in Beverly. We have a variety of stores around us. And in the summertime, you know who's working a cashier? Teenagers. A bunch of teenagers. And so imagine if that was here in North Lawndale and all of the young people were able to get after school jobs or jobs during the summer. I think you see a reduction in crime there as well.
One study in Georgia found that just a 1% increase in food insecurity was associated with about a 12% increase in violent crime.
Do you see it as like a chicken and egg situation when it comes to the fact that like some businesses are not going to want to plop down in neighborhoods that have high crime rates, right? And so they don't want to go there. They don't want to provide employment because they don't want their business to be susceptible to whatever might be in that neighborhood.
Yeah, it is. It's very circular.
How do you interrupt that from your perspective?
You have to find incentives to bring jobs into the neighborhood. And that's what the state's for. That's what the Illinois Department of Economic Opportunity is for, to stimulate and find incentives for these businesses to come into the neighborhood so that they can create jobs and stimulate the economy here.
Like if you take your business to Austin or to Chatham or to Inglewood as opposed to River North or Gold Coast, we will subsidize this part or that part, like your rent or the energy costs for your grocery store, things like that.
Yeah.
But instead, it's people like Booney and Pastor Phil quietly working to make up for the resources that the city should be providing.
Until there's no murders, it's a lot. One is too many.
The Supreme Court permanently blocked Trump's order to use the National Guard in Chicago. Just because the national news cycle moves on doesn't mean that the work doesn't need to be done to make the people of Chicago feel safe in their own neighborhoods.
They leave, the problem's still going to exist because we're not tackling the real problems that are causing gun violence and drug violence. It's poverty, you know what I mean? And disinvestment in Black and brown communities.
Bring back what we used to have before, resources. Open those after-school programs for our children. That's a place that they feel safe.
From my conversations, I've learned that distilling the state of Chicago's crime into a headline and how locals feel about it is nearly impossible. There are people who feel safe. There are people who feel scared to leave their homes. The murder rate is down, and yet it's still a little high. The reality is complicated. It wouldn't get clicks online. But if there's anything I've learned over the last few days, it's that Chicago does need help, but there's no silver bullet. Certainly not in the way that Trump frames it. To truly curb crime in Chicago, we need to address the conditions that lead to it. Poverty, disinvestment, food scarcity.